Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mildly Gothic. If you're new here, welcome to my artsy little corner of the internet. I have something a little different for you today because I'm stressed. Life is a lot right now as far as I'll tell you how much life is. The past couple nights, I have literally gone to bed dreaming about Beetlejuice and like planning what I'm going to say to the cosplay judges and having all of them turn into nightmares. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm working on a Beetlejuice cosplay that I will be presenting at a convention at the end of April. So I needed a little break. I needed to step away. I needed to do something for me to bring some happy, just good vibes to what I was doing. And so I've got two projects for you here today. One is a really simple project on kind of how to mend your own clothes. This technique doesn't work for all kinds of garments, but I wanted to try it out on these. So these are a pair of shorts I've had for 2-ish, maybe 3 years. I'm not entirely sure. But what I do know is they are well loved. These are my favorite pair of dog walking shorts because they fit a little loose. They've got great front pockets and back pockets, and they've got 2 back pockets. And as you can notice, there's a hole in one of them. And this is the right back pocket, which is the pocket I typically put my phone in. So I clearly don't want this to get weaker or to have any problems with it. So the way these pockets were designed is they were stitched on, basically, it seems, directly to the top of the fabric from the underneath. So fixing this hole is going to be a little weird because this hole is so close to the seam that I can't really put a piece of fabric behind it and do that kind of a visible mend. I am planning on doing a visible mending technique because I think they can be really pretty. I am also noticing there's a few other weak points, so I may take this as an opportunity to just do a little bit more. But essentially, I think I'm leaning towards darning, where you create a grid of thread. I do believe typically yarn or something similar is used, and you kind of weave it back and forth like a loom and cover the hole. There's another method where you tuck the edges under and they put a piece of fabric behind it and stitch it down and do a really pretty visible mend on top of it. I think because of the anatomy of this problem, I'm not going to be able to do that. I think it would be really, really difficult because I'd have to be on the inside of the pocket. So I think I'm going to make a little darning cross square, and hopefully I have yarn in colors that go with these shorts. And who knows, maybe I'll do some fun other sections even in places that don't have holes, just so that the shorts look a little bit more cohesive and not with a random crosshatch spot on my butt. So the main reason that I want to do this is just because I love these. I don't want to replace them with something that could also do the equivalent job. The structure of the short is perfectly fine, and even if it wasn't, if it's something I can mend, I feel like I should, especially if I already have the materials to do so. I don't need to be buying more clothes if I already have stuff that works, and if I have the supplies and skills to fix it, then I'm going to do so. So if you have clothes that you love dearly but they have a hole and you don't want to throw them away, stick around because there's a lot of visible mending techniques you can do, and maybe this one will be right for you. So I have a pair of shorts that I love. These are my dog walking shorts. I wear them all the time. They've honestly probably been in videos because they are like my go-to lounge shorts at home. As such, I got a hole in the butt pocket, probably from, my phone sitting down, friction, doesn't really matter. I am aware the fabric of these shorts is probably thinning over time and I may need another repair in the future, but for now this worked just fine. And so I decided to use a technique. I think it's called darning. I'm pretty sure I've looked it up. I'm not sure if I have some other audio of me talking about it, but you basically make a crosshatch of thread. I decided to use embroidery floss. Wow. I decided to use embroidery floss, and I've got a ton of this stuff. From collecting way too many different colors from different projects to buying kits that I didn't end up using all of the yarn for, thread for, I have a lot of embroidery floss. So I picked some colors that I thought went really nicely with the shorts and then proceeded to make my little square. I did 3 different colors because not only did I do my horizontal and then my back and forth, I ended up doing that a little loose. You're supposed to leave it loose when you do that initial pass. But not only did I leave it loose, I spaced them out too far. So I had to go back and I did a zigzag as well to kind of really shore things up. So here's some clips of the process. I just kind of wanted to highlight it. These first clips are in real time. I do kind of speed them up as I get through the different components of this,
but in reality, this fix probably took me 20 minutes max. The first step is kind of creating your horizontal sections. And believe it or not, I should have done these so much closer together. It was the first set, and I was a little, I guess, anxious, didn't really know what I was doing. So, lesson learned, because on the vertical strips, I was able to get them much, much closer together and much, much tighter, and gained a lot of confidence in doing so. It feels like you have too much thread, except you realize that that's actually what's needed to create a really nice flat surface. That initial weaving, getting those initial vertical pieces through was so tedious. But after a couple rows, just like weaving anything, after a couple rows, the strands kind of figure themselves out and it's much, much easier to go through. But because I was so loose in those first couple layers, I did go back through with the diagonal, which I actually think was really fun. And I didn't follow any set up or down, over under process. I was really just trying to capture and cover any holes or gaps that I saw to make the final product much, much more secure. The last thing I did is I did flip it over on the inside of the pocket and use some fabric glue to kind of keep the edges of the pocket together, to the edges of the hole, prevent them from fraying further, and kind of just add an extra layer of stability to this whole thing. As even though I have confidence in my repair, I'd like to not have to do it again in a couple weeks because it wasn't as strong. But yeah, I think this came out super, super cute.
And I think they came out really, really cute. I managed to get it much more rectangular than I thought I was going to, so that was really fun. But that project I finished in an evening. Like, it really didn't take me long at all, and then I was not concerned about my phone falling out of my pocket. So I would highly recommend learning ways to mend and make, your own clothes last longer, especially because it can often be cheaper if you try to use things you have on hand. You don't have to use embroidery floss for this, I don't think. You can use a bunch of other things, just thread, you can use yarn, and there's other methods of shoring up patches. Like, that's not the only method that exists. The other project I decided to do was I wanted to make curtains. We have a little window above our sink, and we've already put fake, I was gonna say faux, like fake stained glass, like film on the top part, but we wanted something for the bottom, just like little curtains if we ever wanted to just close them, also for decorative reasons. So we bought the curtain rod and spent some time. This is why it was very handy that I started this project before Joann's was gone. But we found a really cute, it is a canvas, I think. It is an upholstery fabric. I don't think this was like in the cotton or just a normal fabric. So it's a little bit thicker, but it's this really cute dark blue background with a bunch of different colors of floral on top. Because when you look at the sink, it's basically fully surrounded by white, we wanted to contrast that with the dark tone of the curtains. I thought it would be a little too much if it was like the white backsplash and the white counters and then white curtains. So now it's the white counters, the white backsplash, and dark curtains.
So this is the fabric we have chosen. And this is all of the fabric I have. For this project, I was very bold and decided I only needed a single yard. So the width of the window I am trying to put these in is 35 inches across, and the absolute maximum height I need these to be is 20 inches. However, I want these to be double-sided so that you have the fabric on one side or the other, which may be a bad idea because this is a pretty thick material. So it may end up being one side just for bulk purposes, which will make my life a lot easier. But if I want to make it double-sided, I basically have one shot at this.
And these were super, super simple. I ended up making one cut. We bought 1 yard of fabric. Okay, technically 2 cuts. Technically 2, because I cut the salvage edge off. But I cut it down the center. I figured out what dimensions would work best. Cut it down the center, folded them in half, inside out, sewed all the way along my edges with probably about a quarter, probably closer to a ½ inch seam allowance, maybe a third. It's not the most accurate. But the thing I did is I left a gap on either side at the top of the fold because I wanted to do the thing where it has that little extra ruffle along the top. I knew I wanted to do that. So I left holes on both of those sides. Used those holes to flip it inside out, made sure to cut my corners. I don't know that I have footage of this, but you want to cut your corner seams pretty drastically if you want to get a nice sharp point. You don't want to just, if your corner's here, you don't want to just cut off the angle. You want to actually basically trim down the corner of the fabric, so when you turn it inside out, those sides can meet and there's no extra bulkiness in there. So I turned them inside out and then marked, I just had to figure out how much floof I wanted at the top, and I decided 2 inches was probably good. It should be noted, I decided this without measuring where it was gonna sit on the window. That was a complete eyeball guess, which ended up being correct. So I would recommend measuring. Once I marked my 2 inches, I marked it above, and I decided an inch gap would be big enough for the curtain rod that we have. So I then did top stitching all the way around in 2 squares. So obviously my seams are on the inside, so I made sure to fold under my extra seams from where it was open, and I top stitched the little upper rectangle down, and then I top stitched the lower rectangle down, going all the way across. My plan was to do this first and then do a basting stitch and gather it if they ended up being too wide, but they actually stayed really scrunched and gathered once they were on the curtain rod, so I actually didn't end up doing that. So this was also like so much easier than I thought it was going to be. I did want to make them double-sided, that's why I went through all of this instead of just literally like folding it over and sticking the curtain rod through it. We wanted it to be double-sided, so there's just like a few extra steps, but they're so cute, I think. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Here is a little video of the final product. This is the light on in the kitchen, and so they just slide. They're still a little, they stay pretty scrunched, so you do have to kind of manually unscrunch them, but they do fit the full width, and I think they look super cute. So for our current aesthetic preferences, keeping them nice and scrunched off to the side, but there they are, 2 cute little curtains. But these were both really, really simple little projects that now have brought a little bit of joy, brought me some, I want to say like increased my quality of life, even though it's 2 silly little things. But it has been nice to take a little bit of a break from Beetlejuice, even though we're getting right back to it. I'm actually working on it already, but next video will be putting together my build book and kind of the thought process that goes into that, probably a full costume try on, any of the prepping before the convention, and then after that it'll be the convention results, what happened, how things went. And if that sounds like crazy that that's in 2 videos from now, I do only post every other week. So I don't post every week. That allows me time to do projects, actually compile and edit these videos, because I do all of that myself. So this is a little one, but these 2 projects bring a smile to my face. I think they're really cute, and I hope you enjoy them as well. All I want to do is inspire you to take what you have or buy some small, additional material and do something for yourself. Make something for yourself. It doesn't have to be a gift. You are enough to justify making something for yourself, whether that be fixing clothes or maybe making some new curtains. But this is a fast-paced, pretty small video, so I'm sorry if you're used to my much, much longer, detailed creation videos. I just needed a little bit of a break, and this was a very welcome one, and I hope you like the end results just as much as I do. Probably not just as much as I do, they're mine. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video, listening to my ramblings, and sticking around all the way until the end. I love you so much. With that, I've got nothing else for you. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next one.